House of Representatives backs move to lower age for Senate governorship bids. Police retirees protests spur lawmakers to push pension bill forward. And after bargain life sentence, Deputy Speaker says political solutions still on the table for Nnamdi Kanu. Welcome to You and Your Reps, where we bring the work of Nigeria's lawmakers straight to you. I am Victor, as well, thank you for joining us. A proposal to reduce the age requirement for those seeking election into the Senate and for the office of State Governor to 30 years has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. The Constitution Alteration Bill, sponsored by Representative Martins Essing, enjoyed broad support during debate and was approved through a voice vote on the floor.
From 35
the Constitution Alteration Bill seeking to reduce age qualification for election into the Senate and governorship seats is the brainchild of the House Committee on Youth Development, aimed at improving on the existing Not Too Young to Run Act to bring more youths into the country's governance structures. The proposal is to lower the age requirement for senators from 35 to 30 years and that of governors from 40 to 30 years.
If a member of this House at 25 years spends 2 terms in the House of Representatives, he will be 33 years and he will still not be qualified to go to the Senate or to become a governor. So I think that this Honorable House should look into it.
Several bills to establish education and health institutions also scaled second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Federal Colleges of Education Act Cap F8 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to provide for the establishment of Federal Technical College Nasarawa Burkulu, Zamfara State, and for related matters.
Lawmakers expressed concern that delay in drilling the Obi oil well in Nasarawa State is affecting potential income and economic growth for the state and the nation.
Urge the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited to speed up the drilling of oil in Obi local government area of Nasarawa State. Mandate the Committee on Petroleum Resources upstream to ensure compliance.
Lawmakers also raised concern over escalating insecurity in Zamfara State.
Call on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to explore a new strategy to end these killings and activities in Zamfara State and Nigeria at large.
Away from plenary, the House has thrown its weight behind the federal government's efforts to mitigate the spread of cervical cancer in the country through a nationwide rollout of HPV testing.
About 60.5 million Nigerian women are at risk of cervical cancer. The strategic planning and everything has been concluded towards reaching this number as much as we can.
The National Assembly is proud to identify with the fight against cancer.
The National Task Force on Cervical Cancer Elimination says it has secured a 1 billion naira donation from Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, to support the nationwide screening exercise.
The House of Representatives has inched closer to strengthening national security and protecting Nigeria's fast depleting forests as lawmakers passed for second reading a bill to establish the Federal Forestry Guards Training Institute in Ampa, Kogi State. Now, speaking with You and Your Reps, the sponsor and Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Abdullahi Ibrahim Halims, said the proposed institute will produce a skilled, disciplined corps of forestry guards capable of confronting the rising threats to the nation's forest reserves, from illegal logging to armed encroachment.
By the legal framework, it is intended to deal with our vast, forest reserves in this country. We have abundant forestry across the, from northeast down to north-south, south-south. And, as you traverse the regions of this country, we have abundant reserves of forestry. And, criminals are taking advantage of this abundant forest. You understand? So the idea of
asking for this Forest Guards Training Institute in Ankpa Federal Constituency is to enable training, retraining of all the guards that will be taking care of our vast area of forest across the whole country. And this is intended to deal with criminals, people that are illegally harvesting our forest. So when we have this institute by the government, train people, they become officials of the government, they will now, take charge of our forest. And, that will even bring economic value to our forest too, instead of illegal mining of our forest reserves. Ankpa, as you know, is one of the commercial nerve center of this country and very, very strategic as far as North Central is concerned. Ankpa, from history, from ancient studies, people travel all the way from the north, from the south, from the east into Ankpa for business. We have a very strategic market called Afogam in our place. It attracts every people from across the whole country into that, strategic market. And you see, and because of Ankpa, the region Ankpa is covered by vast, area of forest, which is the major reason why we say yes, let it be established in Ankpa in the entire federal constituency. It allows for easy, accessibility from the north, from the west, from the south, because of the popularity these are for Gam have given to Ankpa from ancient times. It was very, 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 very simple to do it. Why? Because of its security implication, security advantages. Because once we have forest guards manning our forest, the idea of number one, these criminals, armed robbers, kidnappers, taking our people like every day, it do happens in my place. They will kidnap them because of the forest reserve. They will run into the bush covered by the forest, and they will be there. They can traverse in the forest for 20 kilometers and they will meet nobody. The hunters are there, but they are not trained. They can even harvest the hunters to be trained. And this school will be meant to maybe a year training, 2 years training. They'll get equivalent of a diploma, and it will be useful to them in the course of their life. And this, let me tell you, this will again, bring employment to our youth who are staying without doing anything. And you remember too that the federal government, the President Tinubu, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, mentioned about these forest guards and a way to institutionalize it. You understand? So we want to follow up. This is a legal framework for the establishment of that studies in Ankpa Federal Constituency.
And elsewhere, the House of Representatives is moving to fast-track the much-anticipated police pension bill, with lawmakers resolving to engage the Senate leadership for quick concurrence on the legislation already passed by the House. The decision followed a motion of urgent public importance, drawing attention to the continued presence of protesting police retirees at the National Assembly entrance, a reminder of the long-standing concerns over their pension structure.
For 2 months running, police retirees have protested at the entrance to the National Assembly, drawing attention to delayed pension arrears and gratuities, as well as a desire to leave the contributory pension scheme for a standalone police pension board.
The House of Representatives has passed our bill since October 15 and forwarded same to Senate. Till date, Senate has not done anything over that bill.
From the look of things, the way and manner they are handling our issue of a contributory pension scheme, we don't actually want a situation where they will continue to take us for granted.
Their plight was presented on the floor of the House.
The House is concerned that the morale of serving police personnel have been adversely affected by the plight of retired colleagues, a situation that brings embarrassment to the nation and call for urgent parliamentary intervention.
We have done all the needful on that bill. We have amended it.
They are not there because of the House of Representatives. They are there because of the Senate, because the House of Reps has done the needful.
Since we have treated the issue here comprehensively and it has been transmitted to the Senate, on the issue we are done with it.
The House leadership promised to interface with the Senate to fast-track the Nigerian Police Force Pension Board Establishment Bill within 4 weeks. In another resolution, the House directed its committees on narcotics, human rights and public safety to investigate alleged unlawful operations by NDLEA officials in Okuje, Owan West local government area of Edo State.
Alleging the harassment, intimidation, destruction of property and sporadic shootings that led to the murder of a 16-year-old Emmanuel Monday George, a school leaver, right in the family's sitting room. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that the constitutional mandate of the NDLEA is to combat drug trafficking and abuse and to operate within the confines of the law and not to run riot on the peace-loving people of any given community.
Following the news of the death of Senator Oke Ezia from Enugu State, the House adjourned plenary in honor of the departed lawmaker.
And after that plenary, we caught up with Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive, to shed light on the circumstances surrounding the adjournment.
The House had planned to do first reading for a number of bills, about 6 of them, and then third reading for about 7 bills that with the third reading today, 9 actually, that would have made them being passed into law. And then we had about 6 bills to be debated for second reading, and a number of motions on the other paper that would have been handled today, and then committee of the whole would have also sat to consider clause by clause consideration of some bills that had reached that stage that had come back from public hearing. But while we were still at that point of receiving matters of urgent public importance this morning, we got the news of the death of a serving senator, and the mood of the House changed. And when Mr. Speaker gave the announcement that we had lost the senator, our practice is that once the announcement is made, sitting stops. Today's announcement was made much earlier than usual. Otherwise, it's at the end of the day, then the next day there will be no plenary. But today, since it was made early, we had to stop, and today and tomorrow, in honor of the deceased. Our prayers are with the family.
Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, says he remains hopeful that the detention of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu can still be resolved politically. In a statement released by his chief press secretary, Livinus Nwabu Hiogo, after a federal high court in Abuja sentenced Kanu to life imprisonment, the deputy speaker said the door to a political solution is still very much open. Kalu expressed confidence that President Bola Tinubu will listen to the appeals of Igbo leaders and urged residents of the Southeast and indeed Nigerians at large to stay calm, assuring that hope is not lost. This week on the Legislative Terms and Tools segment, we are demystifying one of the quieter but most important rituals of lawmaking, laying of reports. It is the moment when a committee brings its work back to the larger house, placing its findings, recommendations, and even disagreements officially on the record. Without it, no bill can make progress. So, what exactly does laying a report mean? And why does it matter? Let's break it down.
In the work of Parliament, committees are the engine room, so to speak, although for the plenary, the House Committee on Rules of Business, which I chair, is called the engine room of the House because we manage the sittings. But the committee system is the House at work. So all the committees, they do their work and then they submit reports, particularly where the bills have been presented for first reading, second reading, debated, referred to that committee. The committee goes on to do its work, technical analysis, public hearing, and then comes up with a draft. That report is presented in plenary. It's the duty of the House Committee on Rules and Business again to list such for presentation. So laying of reports is the act of bringing that report to present before the House in plenary where sitting is on. You lay it on the table before the Mr. Speaker, and then a day is fixed for it to be considered by the committee of the whole. This is report on bills, for instance. There's also reports that come from committee investigations and other forms of reports. They all have to be placed on the table before Mr. Speaker, and then when accepted, they are now to be referred to the committee of the whole for clause by clause consideration.
And on the committee segment, we turn the spotlight on federal character, what it really means, how it is applied, and why it remains a sensitive benchmark in national appointments. So we sit down with the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Federal Character, Adebayo Adepoju, to unpack the principles, the pressures, and the misconceptions around it.
We have several things that we're supposed to do, among which are to ensure that there's equitable distribution of employment opportunities, among citizens of this country. And the Constitution specifically mentions the states. Another thing we're supposed to look into is what we call our second mandate. And that's how we can ensure that we have even distribution of the economic, power of this country, which means when we are having developmental projects, when we are having things that should go around the nation, we have to ensure that there's even distribution amongst the states. When you talk about the states, you're also having regional, even or equal regional development as well. The focus we have had, which unfortunately I must say is that we have heavily focused on distribution of employment opportunities at the detriment of the other. The reason is not far-fetched. It's just because the bureaucracy that handles projects in this country, it's like a cartel. We have done everything humanly possible to see how we can break into this and, by ways of using the legislature to say, hey, before the budget is passed, we need to look into this. We need to ensure that things are distributed evenly. But the way the budget is being done and it's being packaged, before you know it, the president assents to it and it becomes law. And when it becomes law, it's the same. It's the same legislature. That's the House of Representatives, or should I say, the National Assembly that passes the budget. So if we pass a budget and there are flaws in the budget that we did not fix, how do we come back to say we need to fix it after we have passed it? So it's really a catch-22 situation. It's one of those situations where I feel there has to be more time devoted to the making of our budget, where everybody feels a part of this nation, a part of Nigeria, a part of this project Nigeria, and nobody feels, cheated, and that would reduce drastically the agitations we have in this country. The issue we have is that there's a fraudulent process in place. And I think that's one of the processes that has actually enabled, the use of, people having to have, lopsided, employment in different places. And that then is the waiver. You said the founders of the waiver had a purpose for the waiver, and it was put in place for good reasons. But a lot of the agencies are using the same waiver to avoid advertising to Nigerians. So when you invite them, what they'll tell you is, we didn't have people from Ebonyi apply, or we didn't have people from Oyo State apply, or we didn't have people from Zamfara apply. So we ask them, are you saying there's nobody from Oyo State or Zamfara that is eligible for this position? Then nobody applied. The next question is, we say, how did you advertise? Then you hear, we got a waiver. So if you got a waiver, how do you want people to know that you are recruited? So you see, it's a very, very messed up and crooked process that people take advantage. We have had to tell several agencies, you do not have the luxury of using the waiver for future employment into your agency. We've had to ban them because we know that is where the problem is. And unfortunately, if the agency was also, the commission was also helping to sincerely say, when they apply for the waiver, they look into this and ensure that on their end, before they grant the waiver, they make sure that the distribution, per state justifies what the Constitution says. But, there's also some sort of, connival between the commission and these agencies because they also offer the agency jobs. And that's where the problem is. So it hasn't worked as well. I think that's one of the things that we need to either stop I don't want to say completely or outrightly, stop the waiver process because it has its usefulness as well. But there should be levels of checks before a waiver is fully granted to any agency of government or any of the MDs. One of the things you would find out again is universities. And I also want to laud the Minister of Education as well, because he has told all the institutions and all the universities that before you recruit anybody into the university, you have to advertise. That has solved a lot of problems. Because you find out that a university in, for example, Anambra State, almost everybody there is from Anambra. Or a university in Sokoto State or in Ogun State, everybody is from Ogun State. And, because they say those are the people that applied, how would people be able to apply if they are not aware? So he has stopped that process, and I think it's working very well for the universities, and I hope and pray that other agencies follow suit. It's only fair for the nation. It's only fair. It does not matter if an agency is, or if a university is in Ogun State. If it's a federal university, then every Nigerian is eligible to apply, and they need to be aware. So if we can curtail this menace, I think it would really, really, really help. People would feel more entwined with this project Nigeria, and I think it will help stabilize the nation and bring the nation together, so we don't have this lopsided employment process, that we currently have.
And that's all for this week on You and Your Reps. Thank you for staying with us and keeping tabs on the work of your elected representatives. I am Victor Azu. See you next time.